my name's Malika, and I'm here to talk to you about a very special word. The word is proportion. Have you ever heard of that word? If not, that's okay. I'm here to help you explore what the word proportion means using things found both in your home and the built environment. So let's get started. So who's ever heard of the built environment? The built environment is anything built by people. So if you think about things outside, it could be apartment buildings, it could be bridges. What are some other things that you can think of that are part of the built environment? Maybe you said something like libraries or your school. Those are all part of the built environment because they're built by people.
So here we have a picture of a house. Does anything look strange to you about this picture? Right, there's a giant hand in the picture. Do you think the hand is too big or too small for the house? You're right, it's way too big for the house. The person whose hand it is would never be able to fit in this house. Let's look at another picture. So in this picture, we have another house and two different sized people, large people and small people. What do we think about the sizes of the people in the house? Let's look at the large people first. Do you think the large people would be able to fit through the door? The door looks like it might be too small for the people to fit through. It doesn't look like it's the right size. What about the small people? I think they would definitely be able to fit through the door, but would they be able to look out the windows? Nope, the windows are not the right size for the people. Okay, let's look at this last picture. Do you think these people are the right size for the house? Well, let's see. I think they can definitely fit through the door, but what about the windows? Do you think they can look through the windows? I think so. This house is the right size for these people.
Let's think back to the word that we mentioned in the beginning, proportion. When two things are the right size for each other, that means they're in proportion with each other. For example, let's think about the house and the hand that we just looked at. Was the hand in proportion to the house? Was it the right size for the house? No, the hand was way too big. That means that it wasn't in proportion to the house. When architects and engineers design the built environment, they have to make sure that things are the right size or in proportion to each other. Is there a story that you can think of that talks about things being the right size?
Remember the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears? Goldilocks was walking through the forest when she came upon the three bears' home. In the home, she found several things that she decided to try. First, she saw 3 bowls of porridge. Next, she found 3 different chairs. She was so tired at that point that she was excited to see 3 different beds. One bed belonged to the Papa Bear, one to the Mama Bear, and one to the Baby Bear. Goldilocks decided to try out the Papa Bear's bed first. Do you think the bed was too big, too small, or the right size for Goldilocks? To me it looks like it's a little bit too big for Goldilocks. Goldilocks then tried the Mama Bear's bed. What do you think about that one? Do you think it's too big, too small, or the right size for Goldilocks? It's almost the right size for Goldilocks, but I think she should keep searching. Lastly, Goldilocks tried the Baby Bear's bed. What do you think about this one? Do you think it's the right size for Goldilocks? It sure was. The Baby Bear's bed was the right size, or the right proportion, for Goldilocks. Goldilocks took a long nap before the bears got home and discovered her.
Now, let's look at some objects around my house and see if they're the right proportion for me. Let's look at this jacket first. What do you think? Do you think it's too big or too small? Or do you think it's the right size? Let's see. It's definitely too small. This jacket is not the right proportion for me. What about this toy kitchen? Do we think that it's too big or too small for me? Do you think I could put actual pots and pans on it? No, I think that this toy kitchen is also too small for me, which means it's not the right proportion for me. Now, let's look at these 2 cups. I have one small cup and one larger cup. Which one of these cups do you think is the right size for me? The smaller cup or the larger one? I think the larger one is the right size. I think it's the right proportion for me. Now it's time for you to go around your home and see if you have things that are in the right proportion for you. So you're going to have 15 seconds to go around your home and find one thing that is the right size for you or is in proportion to you, and one thing that maybe isn't the right size. So it's either too big or too small. All right, go. Remember, make sure you find one thing that is too big or too small for you, and then one thing that is just right or that is in proportion to you. All right, time's almost up. Come back. What are some of the things that you found around your home? Remember, you're supposed to find one thing that was too big or too small for you, and then one thing that was the right size or that is proportionate to you. Share some of those things with your family members and let them know if it was too big or too small for you, or if it was the right size and it was in proportion to you. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to draw some things from our community, making sure that we're keeping things in the right size. Remember, architects and engineers have to make sure that they make things in the right size so that people can use them. So let's get started drawing. First, let's brainstorm some things that we see in our community. One thing I see are apartments, I also see stores. Sometimes I see bridges, parks where kids go to play. There's definitely people, both kids and adults. I see trees when I look outside, and also pets. So some pets I see are cats, dogs, and other things. Now let's get started on drawing. Now it's time to design our own community. Remember, architects and designers have to make sure they create things in the built environment that are the right size for people that are going to use them. Let's draw some things in our community, making sure that we draw them the right size. For this activity, you just need a piece of paper and some crayons. So when I look outside of my window, I see a road with cars. So I'm going to draw a road, and it's black. So I'm just going to quickly shade that in. Don't worry about doing too much details yet. Once we draw everything, then we'll go back and color it more. And then I see a sidewalk that is a little bit thinner than the road, because remember, we have to make sure that it is in proportion or the right size. So I'll shade in the sidewalk. Next, I see a big red brick building. So I'm going to draw that building, and it looks like a rectangle. So I'm going to draw a big rectangle. And I see that it has a door. So I'm going to draw the door. And it has two doors actually. So I'm going to draw two. And then above the door, there's a sign that says 702. Next, I'm going to draw the windows of the building. Remember, the windows can't be the same size as the door because then they wouldn't be in proportion. When you look outside and you look at windows, usually they're smaller than the door. So I'm going to make sure that my windows are smaller than my doors are. And there's multiple floors on this building because it is a tall apartment building. So I'm going to make multiple floors worth of windows. And then at the top of this building, there is some decoration. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that too.
Next, I'm going to draw the people that belong in this neighborhood. So do we think that my person is going to be this big? No, that doesn't make sense because then they're taller than the door and they wouldn't be able to get inside of the building. So we have to make sure that our person is the right size to get into the building. So I'm going to make my first person this size. And this is an adult. So this adult can easily look in the window as well as go through the door. But what about if this person had a child? The child would be smaller and maybe wouldn't be able to look in the window, but they still can get through the door. So let's make a child as well. I'll give it a little hair and then a face. Great. So you see that my child and my adult person are able to get through the door. They're the right proportion. And then my adult person can also look through the window. He would have to help the child to look through the window. So now that we've started our community, you can continue drawing other buildings on either side, or if there's maybe a library or a store or something else, maybe there's trees or other things.
To take it a step further, you can draw more things that you find in your community. Take a look outside or next time you're walking, see the things that you find in your community, and then you can draw a whole community like this one. So remember, I made sure that my people were the right size for the door. I also drew a tree, and I made sure that my tree was bigger than my people because I know that trees are bigger than people. And I also made sure to put a little cat that was smaller than people. I made sure things were the right size for each other so that it all fit into this community. I would love to see what you come up with. Bye.